10 Lost Secrets en Poppy Playtime 2. ¿Esto es real o qué?
Hey guys, it's Micah.
Cosas del Poppy Playtime que yo no conocía. Venga, a ver. ¿Qué cosas no sabía yo?
Finding Poppy in a hidden room below, but chapter 2 didn't always start this way. In a now deleted opening of the chapter, after freeing Poppy from her case, you wake up and are immediately greeted by the sight of Poppy
What the fuck es esto?
peeking out behind a door. The sequence continues with you following Poppy as she slinks throughout various hallways.
Esto era el prototipo del Poppy Playtime 2, ¿eh?
Following Poppy then led you back outside to where Huggy Wuggy fell in chapter 1.
What?
What followed was a 10-minute parkour sequence down the catwalks
Un parkour de 10 minutos era el principio del juego, qué guay.
and conveyor belts from chapter 1, eventually leading to a power puzzle that activated an elevator,
Eso era el prototipo. Mira, esto lo teníamos luego dentro de la tienda, de la fábrica. Qué fuerte.
taking you down to the game station to meet your new foe, Mommy Longlegs. Now, you're probably wondering why this never ended up in the game. There were a few reasons this alternate intro was abandoned.
Pongo subtítulos, ¿vale? Aunque los subtítulos de YouTube van un poquito como el culo, también te digo, pero bueno, yo lo pongo.
The first reason was chasing Poppy was just turning out too funny. The sequence went through 3 major iterations, starting with you straight up chasing Poppy to follow her, but that just ended up
Muy cutre, ¿no? Quedaba muy cutre.
being way too funny. Version 2 was Poppy peeking out behind doorways and walls, but that was almost even funnier. In the last version, you see Poppy's shadow moving across the floor and walls.
Sí, eso hubiera estado mejor,
This
pero...
version was definitely the creepiest
El juego está bien como está. El capítulo 2 está muy bien como está.
iteration, and it's the one we ended up sticking with for quite a long time. But in the end, it was abandoned for just feeling a little too cheesy. The
Qué guay
second
eso.
reason was simple. It was too long. You went through a 10-minute parkour sequence
10 minutos de parkour para empezar un juego son muy pesados, ¿eh?
and a wild goose chase without really learning or seeing anything interesting, which leads us to the final reason for the scene's abandonment. Mommy Longlegs had no mention or build-up. To fix these shortcomings, we completely redid the intro sequence. We first added Elliot Ludwig's office to the sequence, so you
El
had
juego quedó muy bien al final. Yo creo que la historia del Poppy Playtime 2 está muy bien. El diseño de niveles está que te cagas también.
an interesting
La parte de Barry es la más pesada, la del carrito, esa es muy pesada.
location to explore. We then changed following Poppy to Poppy talking to you to make her a relatable character instead of just a cheesy horror doll that you follow around. Then we added a scene forcing you to watch Poppy be kidnapped before your eyes to build up the threat of Mommy Longlegs. And finally, we had you jump down a slide rather than jump
Sí, así es como quedó el juego al final, el resultado final, y está de puta madre. Yo esto no lo cambio por nada. A mí, os lo tengo que decir, una de las mejores historias de juego de terror que he jugado en mi vida ha sido el Poppy 2, la verdad. Ha sido el Poppy 2.
down catwalks for 10. In the end, these changes are why the alternate opening
Aunque estaba chulo, podían haber aprovechado estas partes para alguna secuencia secreta o algo así, tío.
of Chapter 2 never saw the light of day. Number 2, Mommy Longlegs' alternate intro scene. Mommy's intro scene was one of the hardest things to get right in Chapter 2.
Qué pereza da esta parte, qué larga es, ¿eh? La primera vez que lo juegas bien, porque es una presentación de personaje muy épica. Pero luego, tío, qué pereza da esta parte, tío.
The scene went through multiple versions of dialogue and pacing. These alternate versions, while relatively similar to the final, had a few key differences. Here's the first alternate version.
A ver. Así es como iba a ser la presentación de Mommy Longlegs, ¿eh?
Why, oh my. Hello down there.
Qué cutre, ¿no? Claro, sin animación y sin nada. Mola más cuando baja.
I wasn't expecting
Bueno, porque no está animada. Igual iba a estar animada, ¿eh?
company. Always tells mommy when guests are on their way
Tenía una línea de audio diferente.
down. Didn't this time. Always tells mommy. Shh. You're okay now. Mommy will take care of you. Mommy wants to take you somewhere
Los pitidos son para los spoilers, creo. Rollo, para que la gente que no lo ha jugado no se coma spoilers, creo.
special. It's easy to get lost down here. Some have lost their way and never found it again. But Mommy won't let that happen.
Yo, sí, igual de
Key
pesada la
outside
escena.
thing about your current objective.
Vale, sí, por lo que no metieron este track de audio es porque Mommy no te explicaba lo que tenías que hacer. En el que quedó final te dice, tienes que pasar por 3 minijuegos para llegar hasta mí y conseguir lo que quieras, ¿sabes?
2, the player had no reason to feel threatened by Mommy Longlegs
Claro, no te asusta tampoco, no te dice nada que te dé miedo.
because she had no prior build-up at the time. So,
Aunque bueno, el hecho de que te quite la mano es bastante acojonante en un principio.
we addressed some of these issues in version 2.
Why, oh my.
Qué guapo se ve el pasillo así, me mola.
Hello down there. I think you lost it.
No está animada del todo igual,
Yes. Do you want it back? No, no, no. Of course not. Though Mommy assumes this is something you want back. Finding you
Pero te deja la mano en el suelo.
two down here was surprising. always tells Mommy when guests are on their way down. Didn't this time?
Los pitidos son censurando spoilers que iba a haber. Quizá han puesto pitidos porque incluye información del Poppy 3.
Tells Mom.
Bof.
Mommy loves to play games. Do you like to play games? How about you play some games?
¿Os acordáis la de horas que le eché a esta cinemática? Bueno, esta cinemática, a esta animación al puto speedrun, tío. ¿Os acordáis la de horas que yo eché en este pasillo?
Oh, you don't have to. Mommy can just keep little Miss Poppy if you don't want her. But Mommy already knows you love. Some have lost their way and never found it again. But Mommy won't let that happen.
Que sí, bro, que la piba era pesada. En cualquier versión la
Who
tía era
cares
muy
if she's
pesada.
kidnapped? So Mommy showing up still didn't affect your current objective. So here's what we did to solve it. We had Poppy be the only one who knows the train code, so now you need her
Ah, que esto lo han subido los developers del Poppy. Qué guapo, lo explican ellos, tío, qué bomba.
to escape. We also added that scene where Mommy comes out of nowhere and pulls Poppy down into the abyss. Problem solved. Now, Mommy steals your only way of escape, and watching Mommy kidnap Poppy makes her introduction all the more threatening. Number 3, the game station's lost designs.
Diseños perdidos de la estación de tren.
Fans will remember that the game station features a giant mural of Mommy Longlegs, a playground for the kids, and entrances to the station's 3 main games. But it didn't used to be this way. The original design of the game station was absolutely massive, and featured a mural on the roof with a giant sun and moon illuminating the station. Although it looked jaw-dropping, there were 2 major issues. It was unrealistically big and was completely empty. It didn't seem like it could have been a real functioning location for kids. The second version featured a new design for the sun and moon, and a lot more color in the room to make it more inviting
Qué guapo, qué buena pinta este. Este tenía muy buena pinta, tío. Cómo mola.
for the kids who visit. However, it was still completely empty.
Y es gigantesca. Era demasiado grande. ¿Por qué habría esto en una tienda de juguetes? No. La que hicieron es perfecta. La estación que hicieron es perfecta.
So we went back to the drawing board, keeping in mind what a place like the game station would need to be a fully functional and realistic location. In the end, we shrunk the room, added a big playground for the kids to play in while they waited for their turn in the
Muy bien.
games, added structural supports for realism, catwalks for Playtime Co. employees to observe the things going on, and of
Muy bien. Muy buena elección. Qué desarrollo más profesional. Me encanta el resultado. Además, es un entorno que te acojona. Cuando estás en este sitio con la iluminación y los sonidos que pusieron, pasan miedo. Lo hicieron muy bien como juego de terror. Muy bien.
course added some classic Playtime Co. style branding. Number 4, Musical Memories lost design. Musical Memory used to have a much different aesthetic than it currently does. In the original version, the walls were completely covered in TV screens of various sizes that would display the name of the button that you're supposed to press. And the buttons you press during the game used to be suspended by big mechanical arms. The reason this design was abandoned was fairly straightforward.
Bueno, bastante parecido. Solo que hicieron pantallas más realistas con tamaños fijos. Pero es bastante parecido el diseño de la sala de la memoria. Bastante parecido.
The aesthetic was too high-tech looking for Playtime Co. The array of TVs and mechanical arms made the room feel closer to a spaceship than a toy factory. On top of
Parecía
that,
más una nave espacial.
we also decided that we wanted to include an area where Mommy Longlegs could watch you play, and that just wasn't going to work in a curved room with a bunch of TVs. Number 5, Cassie Cutie Pillar. Some of you may actually be aware of this one.
Hostia, mira cómo era el prototipo del 100 pies. Qué guapo.
Cassie Cutie Pillar was the original character that was going to be chasing you throughout the Statues game. She was a giant caterpillar with a pink snout, beady eyes, and 2 antennae.
Este, sin duda, el mejor personaje de todo el juego. El que más acojona es este.
Cassie actually appeared in the official Chapter 2 trailer before she was scrapped.
En el tráiler salía ese. Hostia, pues no me acordaba,
Though Cassie was cute, we felt we had the opportunity to make the character more unique by creating an unholy combination of 2 different animals. So we went back to the drawing board. We spent a long time picking the right face.
Es que, claro, es como un perro también. Está muy bien, Está muy bien. Este muñeco está muy bien hecho.
New character, something that didn't feel too goofy for the statues section of the game. Eventually, we settled on the design that would become PJ
¿Qué pasó,
Pugapillar. This was one of the later changes we made to Chapter 2, as we had already made a completely finished model of Cassie, complete with fur simulation and realistic eyeballs.
Es que era demasiado mono. No hubiera dado tanto miedo. Aunque en verdad era un poquito threatening, ¿cómo se llama? Asustaba mucho, pero era demasiado cute, ¿sabes?
As well as various art of Cassie throughout the game having to be swapped with the new PJ art. Number 6, Daisy the Flower and 7 other characters. This is probably the most well-known one on the list. Very similar to Cassie Cutie Pillar, Daisy was the original character that was going to be lowering towards you during the musical memory
Hostia, ¿no era Jumbo? ¿Cómo se llamaba? Bozo. No era Bozo el que bajaba, era la flor. Qué fuerte, ¿eh?
game. She was a flower marionette
Pero cómo te asusta una flor, tío, es muy difícil.
suspended on strings with a very unsettling
Bonzo
face.
eso.
Like Cassie, Daisy also appeared briefly in the trailer for Chapter 2. Daisy was abandoned because we wanted a character with more theming, and a way to alert the player that death was getting closer and closer.
Claro, y una flor no parece que vayas a morir por una flor.
This is where things got difficult. We went through 7 completely different character concepts for the
Qué guapo, estos eran los conceptos de los enemigos. Qué guapo, me encantan estos vídeos, tío.
musical memory toy. A monkey, a clown, a fox, a princess, a bluebird, another bird, a ballerina bird, and finally, a bunny. We liked the bunny because he had great theming with his symbols and clothes, as well as his symbols serving as a great audio tool as you hear him descending upon
El resto de animatrónicos, eso, me han recordado a la peli, no sé si habéis visto una peli horrible, malísima, que hay en Prime Video, bueno, no sé si sigue, que es de Nicolas Cage, que no habla en toda la película, que básicamente como que tiene que ir a limpiar un sitio con animatrónicos para que le reparen el coche o algo así. La peli está divertida, pero es muy mala. Pues la bailarina esa me recordaba mucho.
you, and
Willy Wonderland, correcto. Que la peli pintaba muy bien, pero claro, supongo que le pagaron una mierda porque no habla en toda la puta película Nicolas Cage. No abre la boca, tío. Una mierda de peli, pero bueno, pasas el rato, te ríes.
musical memory. After a few slight design tweaks and color variations, we finally got the Bunzo
Este también acojona, ¿eh? Este también acojona, ¿eh?
bunny we all know today.
Bunzo Bunny pone ahí. Este acojona también, cuidado.
Daisy the Flower wasn't completely absent from Chapter 2, however, as we see various art and posters of her throughout the game, as well as a
Es verdad, tío. Es verdad, las flores están en todas partes, ¿eh? Pero luego no es un enemigo contra el que te enfrentes en el juego, es verdad, ¿eh?
full cardboard cutout with voice lines from Daisy. Number 7, Mommy Longlegs alternate designs. Mommy Longlegs went through dozens of designs before she became the noodly pink maniac we all know today.
El peor, para mí el peor muñeco. No asusta, no da miedo, no te acojona, no te hace correr. O sea, corres porque te está persiguiendo y si no corres mueres. Pero no me pareció un boss a la altura de los demás. Es que comparándolo con el Huggy Wuggy, esta no asusta nada, tío. No asusta nada, tío. O sea, comparas con el boss del 1 y esta no hace nada, tío. No intimida, exacto, no intimida. A mí me dio miedo, a mí no, tío.
2 of these scrap designs actually show up in Chapter 2 as old blueprints for Mommy Longlegs. Her first design was a noodly plush doll with button eyes. It was cute, but that was the problem. The design wasn't eerie enough. A few other things on top of that was she looked too young for
Parece un anime.
her name to be Mommy. She didn't have enough resemblance to a spider for her Longlegs pun to make sense. And
Esa es demasiado alien. Ah, deberían haber hecho una que sea más mayor y más terrorífica, no sé. Es demasiado mona la Mommy Longlegs, tío.
we wanted to try making her a plastic toy to make her feel more unique from Huggy Wuggy. For the next designs, we really tried to push the spider look, as well as make her appearance a bit more creepy. She did look like a spider now, but too much so, to the point where we didn't think it would be realistic for Playtime Co. to create a toy like her. Another issue was this design didn't necessarily look like a toy at first glance
Está muy bien ese, ¿eh?
either. The next designs really tried to push the creep factor in the face, and reel back a bit on the spider elements. This design pass is also where we came up with the idea of Mommy having limbs that could stretch. Originally, her limbs were going to extend
Ah, qué fuerte. O sea que iban a crear un boss que no sabían que aún se iba a estirar. Qué chulo, tío.
in the form of plastic tubes, similar to the way a lightsaber toy might extend.
Se iba a extender como tubos de plástico. Qué bueno.
This design was scrapped because of the challenge of making her limbs bend while also being made of extending plastic tubes. The variation of colors also made her design feel too sporadic and
La voz que estamos escuchando es la voz que suena al principio del Poppy 1 en el tráiler SVHS que te ponen. Parece esa voz, ¿eh? Parece que el que está hablando es el narrador del 1, tío.
complex. To solve these
Playtime Co, no sé qué, no sé cuánto. Parece ese tío, ¿eh?
problems, we
Solo que sin edición.
came up with the concept of elastic plastic, a substance that Playtime Co. created that can stretch like rubber but also retain its shape and position. We also simplified her color pattern and gave her a spherical waist similar to a spider's abdomen. We concepted a few alternate designs after this one with more spider-like features, however, the problem from before still persisted that it was too spider-like and creepy for Playtime Co. to have realistically
Claro, la cosa es que sea un juguete. No pueden crear algo que parezca una araña porque es una tienda de juguetes. Qué guay, me encantan los procesos creativos, me encanta verlo.
made. Number 8, The 6 Lost Toys. From the beginning of Chapter 2, we knew we wanted to have new toys present in each of the games in the game station. These became Bunzo Bunny, the Mini Huggies, and PJ Pugapillar. But before those were
Es el boss que más asusta este, ¿eh? El Caterpillar este es el que más asusta, tío.
made, we had 6 different potential characters created to fill these roles. Jolly
Ojo, cuidado, un perro robot malvado podría estar muy guapo, ¿eh? Y el payaso es demasiado tópico. Habría mucha gente que no jugaría el juego porque hay un payaso. No, lo han hecho muy bien, han hecho muy bien.
Clown, who went through a few design iterations.
Uf, están guapos, ¿eh?
Lovebug, who actually
Ese no asusta, ese es una mierda.
appears in Chapter 2 as a rejected toy. Psydog, a robot dog
Este bien currado podría estar muy chulo. Un perro robot que se vuelva loco, ¿eh?
toy. Sunny Buddy, who also appears as a rejected toy.
Es verdad.
Lily the Frog, a frog on roller skates. And Monster Truck. That one kinda speaks for
Tan chulos, tío, me gustan mucho.
itself. Number 9, the Quality Control Room and the Production Room. In Chapter 2, before entering Musical Memory, we take a detour to the molding room where you create the green
De
electric
las
ant.
partes más aburridas del juego. O sea, me parece bonito como lore de la historia, pero me parece de las partes más aburridas y más tediosas. En el speedrun esto jodía vivo, la verdad. Hay que hacer skip.
In an early version of the chapter, every game you go to was going to be paired with a factory room similar to the molding room. Wackawuggy had the production room, and Statues had the quality control room. These
Iba a haber salas especializadas en cada uno de los minijuegos antes de entrar para conseguir cosas. Qué guapo.
rooms were never implemented
Hubiera sido muy larga la historia. La primera vez que lo jugué fueron como 2 horas y media o 3. O sea, es muy buen capítulo. Es un capítulo largo y se disfrutó un montón. No se me hizo pesado en ningún momento.
into the game and were scrapped during the concept phase because they just seemed like unnecessary filler. Number 10, Mommy Longlegs' death scene. One of Chapter 2's most infamous moments is the death of Mommy Longlegs. After minutes of running away from Mommy, you're backed into a corner with no way out. But just as all hope seems lost, you pull down a lever that activates a grinder. Mommy's arm is pulled into the grinder
Súper crítica esta escena, muy guapa.
and she desperately tries to escape.
Si tú te pegaste 2, ¿cuánto estuve yo? Tú te lo pasaste más rápido que yo, pero porque también te iba guiando un poco. Cuando no tenía mucha idea de lo que hacer, decía, búscate, lo cogía yo el ratón, ¿sabes? Pero más o menos lo mismo, creo que tú también echaste un par de horitas o 3, fue muy divertido.
Screaming for her life as she's slowly crushed to death. Now, you wouldn't think it, but there was actually quite a bit of debate behind the scenes about how Mommy should be pulled into the grinder.
O sea, que había alternativas sobre cómo moría. Oye, qué guapada. Me está encantando este vídeo.
In the alternate version of Mommy's death, her head is actually pulled inside and grinded to a pulp, leaving her lifeless lower half to fall onto the floor. Here it is.
What have you done? You make me part of you! You can't do this to me!
La alternativa era que le pilla la cabeza. Nah, hubiera estado bastante censurado. No, porque parece una mujer gritando. No, entiendo que no hicieran esto. Era
We
duro.
decided to scrap this version for 2 reasons. One, the imagery of Mommy's upper half being dragged away would be more resonant than her lower half being dragged away. And 2,
Sí, es verdad, hubiera sido bastante menos, sí.
Mommy's head being grinded up might have just been too gruesome to show without the game getting an M rating.
Sí, un M como un PEGI 18, básicamente. Sí, hubiera sido más duro de ver. Los niños, hay muchos nenes que han jugado a esto, ¿no? Porque es un juego de juguetes. Hubiera estado calificado como algo más duro. Qué bueno, ¿eh?
So there you go. Those were 10 lost secrets in Poppy Playtime Chapter 2. And in honor of
Pasote.
Chapter 2, and we'll see you in Chapter 3.
Qué gana, ¿eh? Qué pasada, tío.